Explain that again, please.
Sure. I was looking up a photographer from Canton, and he sometimes photographs my son's sports teams and does senior pictures, whatnot. His first name is Mike. I was looking to send him a text message about something. When I hit Mike, there was Mike Proctor, Mike Teresky, who Mike Teresky is the photographer. Mm-hmm. And I said, oh, I do have his number. And that's when I immediately called you, because I had his number. But when I was in the interview, I typed in Michael, which that's what I will call Michael Proctor, Michael, not Mike. Mm-hmm. And that's why it didn't pop up on my phone.
Okay. And you didn't get the sense that she was sort of funneling information from Proctor to you?
No.
Okay. You know, again, it's kind of a human nature thing. If I was in your seat, I would be talking to Courtney about the case probably a lot.
I just know that because I just remember certain things. Yeah, I'm very friendly with her, yes. Well, I can tell you I don't speak to her a lot about the case. Right. No, I don't. I wouldn't say like super, super often, but Michael and Elizabeth, I would say, honestly, maybe 6 times at most.
Do you remember saying you were proud of him, or?
I don't remember specifically saying that, but I'm not saying that I didn't say that, because proud of him in the sense that, like, he was doing his job. He was, he did his job, that he was doing his job, and he was bringing John's charges to John's killer.
So the last time that you were in a, I guess, a social setting, or really any setting with both of them, mm-hmm. is a Thanksgiving that's perhaps around COVID?
Yes. No, I know pretty much it was around, because I couldn't, I know it was COVID time.
Have you ever been to Michael and Elizabeth Proctor's home?
One time. I can't even tell you when it was. I know it was pre-COVID.
Have you or any member of your immediate family ever babysat for Michael and Elizabeth Proctor's children?
I'm trying to honestly think back. I may have very briefly years ago at that. I'm trying to think if it was that time. I just know that because I just remember certain things. Other than that time, no. And at that point, I remember Elizabeth and Michael only had their oldest son at that point. That was the time I was at their home. I just know that because I just remember certain things.
Monday, March 18th, 2024, 3:46 p.m. Detective Captain Eric Benson, Massachusetts State Police, joined by
Captain George Barrios,
the Massachusetts State Police, and we're conducting an audio and video recorded interview of, could you please state your name, ma'am?
Julie Albert.
Okay. And what's your date of birth, ma'am? And what's your address? All right. And what's the best phone number for you? Okay. Any alternative phone numbers?
No.
Okay. All right. And just to rewind, to sort of explain for the record how we got here. I called you, both you and your husband, on your cell phones early afternoon today, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. And you didn't neither you nor your husband, or just you, didn't answer my initial call.
Yep.
And you called back and I didn't answer.
Correct. And I left a message.
And you left a message. Yeah. And then I called you back and we finally connected. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And during that conversation, I introduced myself as a detective captain with the Massachusetts State Police.
Yes, you did.
And indicated that I had been assigned by the state police and at the request of the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office, together with Captain Barrios, conduct an inquiry regarding the relationship of Trooper Michael Proctor with various witnesses in the John O'Keefe investigation. Is
yes,
that
you did.
Correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And then I asked you if you'd be willing to submit to a formal interview, a recorded interview regarding our inquiry,
Yes, you did.
and you indicated that you agreed to that.
Agreed to that. Yes, I did.
And then we discussed scheduling and timing.
Mm-hmm.
And we offered to come to your house. It was your preference that we do this somewhat removed from your house in the general Canton area. So I invited you to State Police General Headquarters, which is where we are right now. We're in a conference room that is outside of the Homeland Security Operations Center at State Police General Headquarters in Framingham. You indicated that you were going to leave your home shortly after our conversation and that you'd call me when you arrived.
Yes.
Which is what you did.
I did.
Okay, and then we let you in the back door here, and
a
few steps away to this conference room.
Correct.
Does that accurately reflect sort of the entirety of our interaction today?
Yes, it does.
Prior to turning on this.
Yes, it does. Yep.
And then right before we turned on the tape, we asked you if you had any questions prior to starting.
Correct.
And you had none.
I said no.
Okay. And just for the record, have we ever met?
No, I have never seen either of you in my life.
Okay, and for the record, I don't believe that I have ever met Miss Albert. Mm-hmm. Captain Barrios?
I have not. I've never met Julie before.
Okay. All right. With that, do you have any questions before we get into sort of our list of questions that we compiled?
Not that I can think of offhand, no.
Okay.
Nope.
All right. Do you know Trooper Michael Proctor?
I do.
You do?
Yes.
And how do you know him?
Okay. My sister, her name is Jillian Daniels, which is my maiden name, has been friends, very, very close friends, with Michael's sister, Courtney, maiden name Proctor, current name Elberg, B-U-R-G, I'm sorry. Since I want to say they were in 6th grade. And I am almost 5 years older than the both of them. So, they started being friends when they were in middle school, and they've continued their friendship through high school, through college, through, life. And they're still friends to this day. And basically, Michael's sister Courtney became, she was always around. She was one of my sister's best friends. She is one of my sister's best friends, and she's just always been around. And that's how I formed a relationship with her, obviously, because, your little siblings, friends, you're usually friendly with. Sure. And that's just basically how, and obviously Michael is Courtney's brother. Uh-huh. And that's basically.
And Jillian lives in the area?
Jillian lives in Canton as well, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So there's a lot of opportunity for everybody to get together and interact. Yep. Okay. You know Michael through his sister and
Correct.
Through your sister.
Through my sister because of his sister, right. Basically. Yeah. I mean, I know it's kind of, botchy. I mean, it's hard to whatever, but yeah, that's basically, yeah. Yep.
How long would you say you've known them for?
I have known of Courtney. I mean, when you're going back to middle school, it's a little different, right. Like the kids, you have to plan if I drive, if my mom drives, your mom picks up, that kind of thing. So it wasn't like Courtney was a constant presence then. But when you fast forward to high school and, sure. Everyone's always around. But as for Michael, how long would I know him? I mean, I don't even know Michael's exact age. He's younger than Courtney. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I don't recall Michael at all when he was in high school. I don't recall him at all when Courtney was in middle school because, like I said, he's younger than Courtney. I couldn't even, well out of high school, probably out of college too. I mean, I would think.
So you've known of Courtney.
Of Courtney, yep.
Since she was in the 6th grade. Since
middle school, yeah. I would say sixth or 7th grade, yeah. I can't tell you exactly the second her and my sister, right. the friendship group formed. Right. I can't tell you exactly because it was my sister's
And Michael is even younger.
Yeah.
So your interaction, what was your interaction with him like when you were young? You said you don't recall him at all.
I didn't even, I mean, I probably knew that Courtney had a brother, but back then, like, you know, I was almost 5 years older, so they were little, my sister and Courtney were, you know, they were annoying to me. You know what I mean? It's like they were my younger siblings' friends. But, you know, as my sister and Courtney grew up, everyone grows up and you mature and, you know, but I mean, honestly, I would say, you know, when they were out of high school, that would make Michael still in never, I wouldn't even have known him when he was in high school. I mean, we just wouldn't have crossed paths. Like, I'm just a lot older.
Okay. Do you know Trooper Proctor's wife at all?
Yes, I do. I know Elizabeth, yes. I do not know her well. Yeah, I mean, I know if I saw her, I would say hello. I've probably been in the same place with Elizabeth 5 times, maybe. I mean, maybe. But I don't know her. I don't know her well. We don't have a, you know, she's a nice girl, but we don't have a relationship. I wouldn't.
Did you know her prior to, when's the first time you'd say you met?
When I met Elizabeth? Oh, God. Maybe when they were engaged. Her and Michael were engaged at one point. Like, yeah, probably when they were engaged, I would say. And I couldn't even honestly tell you when that was.
Okay. Okay. How often do you communicate with Courtney?
It depends. It depends. Her kids are younger. My kids are older. I have a lot more, I guess, freedom now that she has because my kids are grown up, basically. My youngest is 16 and a half. My oldest is 25. Her kids are still in elementary school. So, I mean, you know, it goes in spurts. Sometimes I'll talk to her a couple times a week. Sometimes I won't talk to her for 2 or 3 weeks. Sometimes I won't talk to her for a month. Sometimes it just honestly depends on life.
And how long has that been going on? Because obviously your relationship with Courtney started with, she was your sister's friend.
Yeah.
And she continues to be your sister.
Oh, God, yeah. Yep.
And so over time, how did that dynamic work? Was it a situation where you're close to your sister? I'm
very, very close with my sister. Yes, my sister is my best friend. And so I'm very close with my sister. And then it got to the point, like, you know, when my sister and Courtney say they went out to, you know, for a drink or to go out and they invited me to go along.
Sure.
Or if I went out somewhere for a drink and I invited my sister, oh, you want to come? And she's like, oh, do you care if a couple of my friends come? You know, just like that.
Sure.
And then so when Courtney was in college, I don't recall being that, like, you know, I would see her occasionally when everyone would come home from college and that kind of thing. But it was more so after when Courtney graduated from college. And, you know, she met her now husband. And, you know, they started dating and they were serious. And then I started having my children. And that's kind of more so, too, because I had my oldest, you know, I was 22 when I had my oldest. Then I had my second son. And I was the only friend sister that had kids. So, you know, my sister would babysit. So her friends would occasionally come babysit, or they would come over and visit the kids, or if I had a new baby, or, you know, what that was.
Sure.
But so basically I would say I'm bad with years. But, you know, past when Courtney was like in college. Okay. So, you know, later, I would say after college, after they graduated from college. And, you know, we all became friendlier because I didn't look at them anymore like they were the little annoying.
Sure, they're more
sister and friends. We're
equals.
All, yes. Yep.
So after Courtney graduated from college, you eventually became, you know, closer. So
closer, but not like closer, but not like super. But then when things started, like when Courtney met her, like I said, her now husband, and then, you know, they got engaged, and, you know, then that stuff and I had my kids, and
Sure.
you know, that then we became closer.
And you started
in
to
that
talk to her directly, as
Yeah,
opposed
yeah.
to like, kind of through your
through my
sister
sister.
and stuff
Yep,
like that.
absolutely. Yep.
Okay. And Courtney, how do you usually communicate with her? Is it in person, Facebook, social media, voice calls, texts, all the above?
I'm not, text, voice call, yeah, a little bit of that. I mean, as in social media, as if, you like a picture, if that's what you guys consider, social media, then yeah, of course, like if she put up a picture of her kid, I'm gonna like, oh, that's
Sure.
cute, or possibly comment on it depending on my mood, or possibly press that like button. Same with Instagram, like that. So yes, I am connected to her on social media. Yes. As for, and we text, and just the average communication in 2024, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about Trooper Proctor's wife, Elizabeth? Do you communicate with her a
Never.
lot directly?
Never.
So no Facebook, you're not Facebook friends with her?
So I was Facebook friends with her, yes. So I guess, okay, so we'll back up. Yes, on Facebook, we're Facebook friends, yes. I haven't been on Facebook for some time,
Okay.
but like on Instagram, like yes. In that way, yes, but not text, not voice, not with that, not that way.
So social media, yes. But not by phone.
Correct, yes.
And phone would include like messaging apps like WhatsApp and stuff like that, like nothing like that?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
And how about Trooper Proctor?
No. Social media, as in, I believe, and I would honestly have to check, possibly Instagram.
Okay.
But not what the kids do on that, like not message, just the simple Instagram app.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be it.
Okay. And so do you communicate with him by phone at all?
No.
Not by phone. Have you ever socialized Trooper Proctor, Trooper Proctor's wife, Elizabeth, or Trooper Proctor's sister, Courtney?
Have I ever socialized?
Yeah, socialized with them and been in the same place at the same time.
Absolutely, yeah.
With all three?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Let's start with Proctor's sister, with Courtney.
With Courtney,
how often? Quite often, from what you explained, right?
I mean, I wouldn't say quite lately, not quite, like, not really that quite often.
Okay.
Like I said, life just gets in the way, but the only Courtney, like, the kids, her kids, my kids, she loved my kids, her kids are wonderful, things like that. But with Michael and Elizabeth, the only way I have ever ran into Michael and Elizabeth in a social situation is if I've gone by Courtney's house, or if I've gone by Mr. and Mrs. Proctor's house, Courtney's parents' home. Courtney and Michael's parents.
So, Michael and Elizabeth, the only times
I've socialized with them is in I should say in a Proctor family setting. But that's a good way to explain it.
But at Courtney's house or
Mr. and Mrs. Proctor's house, which is not existent anymore because they sold it here.
Okay.
And
okay. And so, and how often would that be? How many times total?
Courtney's house? I mean, Courtney herself?
Yeah, Courtney herself is quite very often.
Yeah,
you're very good friends with her.
Yeah, I wouldn't say, I'm very friendly with her, yes. I wouldn't say like super, super often, but Michael and Elizabeth, I would say, honestly, maybe 6 times at most. Maybe.
And what were those times?
I remember, I'm trying to think. One Thanksgiving, I couldn't tell you. I just have distinct things in my head. One Thanksgiving, I know after my family's Thanksgiving, we stopped by there on the way home. Because it was
stopped by where?
Courtney's. Because it was Courtney's son's birthday. We stopped by there. They were having a cake. Another time could have been I was at Courtney's, when Courtney was pregnant with her second child. Courtney had a kind of gender reveal cookout at her parents' house. And I don't recall if both Michael and Elizabeth were there. I don't recall if Elizabeth was there, but I know that Michael would have been there. It was his sister. Honestly, maybe a cookout here and there at Mr. and Mrs. Proctor's home. They had a pool. I know in the summer, they love to host, and they would have people at their house for cookouts, family cookouts.
Yeah.
And that really is the extent. Outside of a Proctor like cookout or gender reveal, maybe. Oh, Courtney had an engagement party at her parents' house. I can't tell you how many years ago. Outside of that, I've never been in a social setting with Michael and Elizabeth. Like, never at a bar, I'm sorry, take that back, social setting, at Courtney's wedding. I was. Courtney and her husband's actual wedding. But other than that, we've never, had a planned night out that we all go out together. We've never had, we'll meet at the bar, or will this, none of that, ever.
All right. And approximately, when were all of these? Are these all recent, or are these all over what period of time are we talking about these 6 total times?
So I'm trying to remember my best date-wise, yeah. So Courtney's son we'll put it into perspective here. For one of them, Courtney's son is 7.
Okay.
Her daughter is 10 or 11. So if that's enough. So if her daughter, it was a birthday party for her daughter, like that. Mm-hmm. So her daughter's 10. Put it that way.
Okay.
Courtney's been married since years,
since prior to the birth of their first child, or?
Oh yes, yep.
So more than. So
yes, yep, okay. Yep. I think it was 20. Why do I want to say 2012? Yeah, maybe 2012, 2013, possibly.
2012 area.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this isn't exact. I'm just trying to give you the best. This isn't exact down to the perfect, but I'm just trying to do the best I can remember.
No, and that's all that we ask.
Yeah.
When is the last time that you were in a social setting with Michael and Elizabeth Proctor?
Gosh. Michael, I honest to God, I don't, a social setting?
Yes.
Are you talking in the same room?
I'm talking about in the same room, in the same setting. Yes. The same general room or area. Same event.
So I'm just making myself clear here. Are we talking an event, or are we talking a conference room?
We're talking everything. We're talking events and smaller settings, but if you could just, indicate which is which.
An event, I would say, oh my God, maybe possibly COVID-y time, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe that could have been the Thanksgiving where we popped over after our my family Thanksgiving. And then I don't even recall, honestly, if Elizabeth was there, because I have been at times at Mr. and Mrs. Proctor's over the years that Elizabeth wasn't, or she had something going on. And there was not many times, but that she would, I saw her maybe there with the kids that I would have to really think about, and he wouldn't be there. Okay. So, and as for the both of them together, probably 8 to 10 months ago, which would have been at D.M. Morrissey's office.
Whose office?
Morrissey.
Morrissey's? Okay.
Yep. Okay. So I'm just laying it out that that's the last,
And what was that meeting for?
Just to discuss what was going on. And I don't even, to be honest with you, I don't even recall, Michael wasn't in the actual room with us. Elizabeth was, and Michael wasn't.
Okay. So the last time that you were in a, I guess, a social setting, or really any setting with both of them, is a Thanksgiving that's perhaps around COVID?
Yes. No, I know pretty much it was around, because I couldn't, I know it was COVID time. because we spent it with people we normally wouldn't have Thanksgiving with, because some people weren't having Thanksgiving and
Sure.
Yep.
Okay. And since the death of John O'Keefe, have you, aside from this meeting at the DA's office, have you socialized with or been in any setting together with Michael or Elizabeth Proctor and or Elizabeth?
Since John died?
Yes.
No, I have not.
Okay.
No.
Covered a lot of this earlier, but you indicated that you have been to a wedding and to some parties and social events where Michael Proctor and Elizabeth were present. What was your level of interaction with them at these events? Like at these 6 events that you referenced, the most recent being Thanksgiving, what do you talk to them extensively, or what is the nature of your interaction during these 6
Just
events?
honestly, everyone's in between the kitchen, the living room, the family room, and there's other family of theirs as well, not just them and me. And just small talk. They have small children, which means that their life is, if you have small children opposed to someone like me who would have had kids that were 4 years ago, like say 12, I can just sit and relax. They can't do so much. Just small talk, nothing crazy. Just small talk.
Do you speak to them a lot at these parties, or is it a situation where it's like your old friends and you talk a lot, and people who are looking at you are going to say, "Well, they're catching up," or is it a situation where
oh, hey, what's going on? How you doing? Oh, the baby's so cute, or oh my God, he's getting so big, and then on to talk with Mrs. Proctor, or on to sit with my son, or on to say hello to go get a glass of wine. No, just small talk. Hey, what's up? It's not like when I go in, it's like you'd be sitting catching up with your long lost best friend.
Right. All right. So nobody who was there could reasonably, in your opinion, get the impression that you had a close relationship.
No, absolutely not.
So it was just small talk and brief catching up.
Yeah, just like you'd say with an acquaintance.
And was it more with Michael, more with Elizabeth, or both equal?
I would 100% equal. Like 100, like just like I said, like if I went into the room and sat down, and Elizabeth happened to be sitting next to me, we'd talk. Oh, is the baby sleeping at night? Or oh, is this just small talk? Or if Michael was standing in the kitchen, oh, how's it going? How's just total small talk.
Okay. Have you ever been to Michael and Elizabeth Proctor's home?
One time. I can't even tell you when it was. I would honestly say I can't. I know it was pre-COVID. I just know that because I just remember certain things. And I have my son with me, my youngest son. And I just have little bits and pieces. But I can't even.
And do you know why you went, or who you interacted with there, or?
I want to say Courtney was there as well. I really honestly can't remember, but I know Courtney and Elizabeth, but definitely Michael wasn't. Mr. and Mrs. Proctor, who were over there often, obviously their grandparents, they were not. I honestly don't remember.
Okay.
But I know.
It was on.
One occasion only, and it was pre-COVID, I remember that.
Do you remember if there was an event or anything, stick out about that?
I honestly, I don't.
Okay.
I don't.
Okay. Has any other member of your family, immediate family, ever been to Michael and Elizabeth Proctor's home?
Any other member of my immediate family? No. Except when I went by, I remember I had my son with me.
Okay.
He was,
aside
from, no.
And was young at that time.
Young, yes. I want to say, he was 12 or younger, maybe.
Okay. But your husband's never been there?
No, not to my knowledge. No.
Okay. And none of your other children?
Nope, none of my other children.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
Have you or any member of your immediate family ever babysat for Michael and Elizabeth Proctor's children?
I'm trying to honestly think back. I may have very briefly years ago at that. I'm trying to think if it was that time, but other than that time, no. I'm just thinking in my head, but other than that time, I'm just trying to think back. I am having a hard time remembering, honestly. And at that point, I remember Elizabeth and Michael only had their oldest son at that point. Because I remember he was sitting in a high chair. And I want to say he was maybe even a year old. That's why I know it was a long time ago.
And how, was that their youngest son, you said? Or
No, they have two boys. Okay. And they're old. No, this was their oldest. Oldest, okay. Yes. And he is now, I wouldn't even, 6, 5, 6? Either 5 or 6.
Was it your house or their home?
That was the time I was at their home. Yes. Yep.
Okay.
And I know for a fact that was the only time I was ever at their home.
Okay, but you don't. I'm
just thinking back, when I went over there, if Courtney was possibly babysit. I don't remember. I remember, but I don't remember.
Okay. Okay. And to the best of your knowledge, your husband has never babysat their children.
But Michael's children?
Yes.
No.
And any of your children? Have any of your children babysat?
Oh, no.
No. Okay.
I had a question.
Yes, of course.
When you went over there to babysit their kid,
I'm not.
You're not positive.
Yeah.
But you
I
do
remember
going
over there. I said that, yes, that one time.
Yeah.
I went over there years and years ago, and I don't recall. I don't know if Courtney was there and I don't recall.
Do you remember what brought you or led you there? How that communication evolved, began, or how it came about?
I really don't. Like I said, we're going this is years ago. I really don't. I don't. No.
Okay. Were you or any member of your immediate family ever asked to babysit Michael and Elizabeth Proctor's children?
I recall Courtney asking. Like I said, it's very, 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 very fuzzy. I remember one time going back to that, something about Elizabeth. It's fuzzy. I'm not going to lie. Okay. It's very fuzzy.
More recently, around the time of John O'Keefe's death, do you recall a time when you were asked if you may be available to babysit?
No.
You don't recall ever being asked by Courtney or anyone else?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't. And I know for a fact I didn't. And no, I don't.
Okay.
No. Not around the time. No.
There was are you familiar that there's reporting that there was an ask that
yes.
you were asked?
Yep.
Okay. And right around the time 10 days prior or something like that.
Yeah, and I honestly don't recall that.
Okay.
I just don't recall that.
But even if you were asked, you're saying that did not happen at that time?
No, it did not happen at that time. No,
okay.
Absolutely not.
And if you ever babysat for them, it was years prior. Perhaps on the one occasion you went to.
Perhaps on one occasion, yes. When we're saying babysat for them, not babysat multiple times. If there was, it was one time, and I'm just trying my best to remember.
Okay.
But around John's death, absolutely not. Nope.
Okay.
Nope. Or any time close to that, no.
Did you ever indicate that you were proud of Trooper Proctor and wanted to buy him a gift?
So again, when things happen far back, I don't have the greatest memory in the world, and
sure.
It's hard to remember every little detail of your life that it's gone on. But
sure.
I do remember vaguely the day that Karen Reed was arrested. Mm-hmm. I do remember being overcome with emotion. Michael Proctor, my Courtney's brother, had arrested my friend, the person who took my friend's life, the person who I think took my friend's life. And I just remember being, you hear stories on the TV, you see, people, policemen making, policemen doing things like this. And when it happens to someone that and one of your friends, it's a lot. And I remember somewhat saying something of that nature. Like I don't remember 100% what it was. But I remember saying something, meaning that I was relieved that Karen Reed was arrested for the death of my friend.
Okay. And do you remember saying you were proud of him? Or?
I don't remember specifically saying that, but I'm not saying that I didn't say that, because proud of him in the sense that, like, he was doing his job. He was, that he did his job, that he was doing his job, and he was bringing John's charges to John's killer. That's basically, I'm trying to just be,
sure. And you said that to who?
It's Courtney. I know that.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
And do you remember what Courtney's response was?
I don't. Honestly, I don't. I do not.
Okay. And did you ever buy him anything?
No, I did not. Nothing. Nor, and I'll answer your next question, nor did I buy Elizabeth anything either.
Okay. Did you ever speak with Trooper Proctor directly regarding the investigation into the death of John O'Keefe?
Not to my... No. Not that I can... No. I don't. No.
Okay. Did Courtney ever provide you with information on the investigation into the death of John O'Keefe that you believe was not public?
No.
Even if it was perhaps about to be made public?
I honestly don't recall. I don't believe so, but I don't recall.
Did you ever attempt to elicit information from Courtney regarding the investigation? I mean, obviously it was your good friend.
Yep.
There's a natural, and your good friend's brother is the lead investigator.
Is the lead investigator.
Yep. So it puts you in a position in the middle here that I would almost view it as being human nature that you would
absolutely, but
ask.
I can answer you no.
No. Because that would be, I think, if I was in a position like that, I would have a difficult time not asking, because I think it's just almost fundamental human nature.
Right. But I also respect that it's her brother, and I respect that, how do I explain this? I also respect that things just have to be separate. Like I wouldn't put that on her. I wouldn't ask that, nor I don't know I don't know her relationship with her brother, the ins and outs of her relationship with her brother. I don't know.
She doesn't talk about that, or?
About her brother?
She doesn't talk about sort of her relationship with
her and her brother are close, but
yeah.
I don't know regarding his occupation in that. Like, that wouldn't ever be something that would ever, I don't know. Like, okay. I don't know about that.
All right. Did anyone else, aside from your own curiosity, ever ask you to elicit information from Trooper Proctor or Courtney? Trooper Proctor's wife, or Courtney, regarding the investigation? Did anyone ask you to try to find out? Like, given the fact that you have this sort of unique, position in the middle here, that did anyone else ask you to try to figure out, what's going on, from Trooper Proctor?
No, I don't know who would.
Well, I mean, there's obviously, it was a big story. in town.
Still continues to be. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And so, and it was, a prominent story, and there's obvious curiosities that
Yep.
and
Yep.
I imagine that if you were close to Mr. O'Keefe, then
Yep.
others that would also be close to Mr. O'Keefe.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be sort of a natural situation if any of them knew that you also were close with the lead investigator, that you would be asking.
No, I'm not close with the lead investigator with his sister.
True.
Okay.
Yes, but if you were close with a close family member of the lead investigator, that there would be some
but also
possibility that questions would be asked of you to be asked of him.
right, but also not all. If someone was to ask that, you can't just assume that I would do that.
Sure.
Which I wouldn't.
Well, that's why we're asking.
Yeah, not my intention. No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. You indicated earlier that you have never spoken on the phone with Trooper Proctor or never had any text message communication with him at all?
I think I honestly don't the only thing, I just have to think for a second. The only thing that sticks out, and I do not remember if it was I don't remember if it was a phone call, or I don't remember. Michael delivered the envelope to me.
Okay.
For the, what did I go? The grand jury.
Okay.
And not inside my home, outside of my home. And he had to hand that to me. And then he also interviewed me along with his, a couple days after John passed away, he interviewed me along with his, what's the guy? I forget the guy's name. Was it?
Sergeant, your lieutenant?
Yeah, him. Yeah. He interviewed me in my home, me and my husband.
Okay.
Along with him.
Okay. Prior to that, though?
There could have been a time where, like, a funny picture could have been sent, like, a funny picture could have been sent. I'm talking, like, I don't know. I don't know.
Did you have his number in your phone?
I honestly, maybe like years and years ago, I might, like, when I say years and years ago, I mean like, years ago, like maybe 4, 5, 6, possibly. I don't know. I honestly don't remember, because I know that, like, there was a funny picture of Courtney when she was younger. And I know that, like, maybe she sent it, or maybe he didn't, but maybe she sent it, because she would be the connection.
She would be the connection.
She would be the connection to the three of us.
So,
yep.
So there's
possibly, but honestly, nothing like communications back and forth, like, hey, what's going on? What are you doing? Ever. Never, okay. Not 10 years ago, not 15 years ago, not a month ago, not a year ago, never. Because I don't have that kind of relationship with him, and I never have.
Okay. Are you aware that there's some reporting that there was?
Yeah, well, so the reporting that you say, like, that there was a text message in it, or a message, and it was empty or something. Okay, so from what I take of that, I'm not going to sit here and say that was that, because I heard that as I was sitting in my living room on a television in a courtroom from someone talking into a microphone. So I'm aware of what they said because I watched the hearing. Sure. But that's as far as I know, and there was 2 that were unfounded or I forget the word he used.
Sure.
So that's what I heard, yes.
Okay. And that didn't jog your memory at all?
No.
Okay. And so, do you currently have Michael Proctor's number in your phone? I
do not. I can check. Sure. I do not believe so. Contacts. No, I do not.
You don't?
No. Nope.
Okay. So, obviously, this is a situation where the defense is asserting something, which you viewed in the hearing, and you have no memory of these text message communications. What we'd like to do, with your consent, is we'd like to look at your phone for any record of those communications. It would be narrow to just looking to see if we can recover or find the text messages that were referenced in court the other day. Because obviously, without having the material that was in the text messages, it leaves it up to speculation and interpretation what they were. I believe that they probably did occur because, I have it. There's no reason to believe that they didn't occur if they're being, put forward in open court. So it's important, I believe, to try to figure out what was in those text messages, because in the absence of hard information of what they were, it is left for speculation, which obviously isn't a good thing given the situation.
Right. So I'm just not going to make this decision right now.
Okay.
I'm just going to talk to my husband and, but I mean, and get back to you, because I wouldn't even know how to.
Okay. Well, so what it was, so to make your informed decision, what it would be, we're not looking to dump your phone, which would be to extract all information from the phone.
Yeah.
We're looking to look through the phone for communications with Trooper Proctor.
Okay.
And any group text message threads that you and Trooper Proctor are on together. And most importantly, really the primary function is to figure out what was in those messages. Because you can see, obviously, in the absence of real information, people can say that they're anything.
Yeah.
Because there's no information to the contrary. So finding them, I believe, or trying to recover them
is a good thing.
It's a good thing because it's a good thing regardless because it's in the interest of justice, I think, to recover them, because it is information, hard information, which is what should be presented, at court. So that is our purpose, and that is why we wouldn't expand it to, other areas of your phone, but I think you understand the importance of recovering those messages.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that would be the ask. So I'm not asking for a decision right now, but if you can get back to us, we're speaking to your husband tomorrow.
Yep.
So that would be, if you had an answer by then, that would be awesome.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
And that's why we ask. We know that it's intrusive, but there's a significantly important to figure out what those messages were.
Understandable. Yeah, I understand that.
Do you have any questions for us at all?
I don't. I probably should, but I don't. I don't know.
Do you have anything that you think that we didn't understand or that you think isn't clear in the record in terms of the questions that we asked?
Well, I mean, to sum it up, like to put what we just talked about.
Sure.
Courtney is a friend of mine. Michael is her brother.
Sure.
Years between us age-wise. He's an acquaintance of mine. That's just how it is. Elizabeth is an acquaintance of mine. Her parents are, it's just the whole, it's just Courtney. And it's just because she's Michael's sister, doesn't, he's just an acquaintance. That's what it is.
And I don't want to get too much into the actual homicide, because we're narrowly focused on this relationship situation, but I really have not followed this case very, very closely. What is just the bare bones basis of your relationship with John O'Keefe?
What is my relationship?
Yeah, with him? Okay.
Yes, he was my neighbor.
For a long time.
He was my neighbor for probably 8 years, maybe give or take.
And you became friendly with him because of that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Did you know him previously?
I did. I knew of his situation because it was a big thing in Canton when his niece and nephew's mom died, and then it was a sad time when the mom died, and then shortly later when their dad died, it became, it was a very sad time. And then, with all the newspapers and the fundraising and everything, and then, I didn't know him at all at that point. I had no idea who he was. And then he came in and did the good deed and moved near me, and that's it. Yeah, moved 2 doors down.
Okay.
Yep.
Barrios.
Actually, I'm sorry.
Oh, go right ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go right ahead.
So he does know who you are. That he meaning Trooper Michael Proctor, right?
Does he know who I am?
Yes.
Of course he knows who I am. Yes. Absolutely knows who I am. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So just to clarify, we probably have already gone over this, but would you talk to Courtney about the investigation into the death of John O'Keefe?
Would I talk to her?
Yeah.
After it happened, how you doing? My friend passed away tragically. There's no way around that,
Sure.
And, how's everyone holding up? Stuff like that.
Okay. But in terms of the, investigation or the,
not really.
the charges against, Karen Reed.
No, and I really, I wouldn't put anyone in I wouldn't put someone in a position like that. I wouldn't, I just wouldn't put someone in a position like that. Anyone.
Okay. Because, it's only natural. And I think that actually I'm pretty certain if I was in your position, I would be talking to my friend, about this circumstance. If one of my, former neighbors and friends, was apparently killed, and, it just would, and it seems like it did kind of consume Canton. And you're kind of right.
Did consume? It is.
It is consuming Canton. So it seems like, seeing as though you're right in the epicenter of that, it's, again, it's kind of a human nature thing. If I was in your seat, I would be talking to Courtney about the case probably a lot.
Well, I can tell you I don't speak to her a lot about the case.
Right.
No, I don't.
No. And you didn't get the sense that she was sort of funneling information from Proctor to you?
No.
Okay. If there's nothing further, we'll conclude the interview and shut off the recorders. The time now is 4:43 p.m. Monday, March 18th, 2024. Okay, the body cameras are running and we're on the record with audio and video recording. Today is Tuesday, March 19th, 2024. The time now is 5:56 p.m. We are inside a conference room located in the office space of the Disabled Persons Protection Commission, located at 300 Granite Street, 4th floor in Braintree, Massachusetts. I am Detective Captain Eric Benson with the Massachusetts State Police, and I'm joined today by
Captain George Barrios, State Police.
Conducting an audio and video recorded interview of, could you please say your name, ma'am?
Julie Albert.
And your date of birth, please. And your address. And your phone number. And for the benefit of the record, we interviewed you yesterday at State Police Headquarters in Framingham. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes, you did.
Okay. And then sometime after you left, a couple hours after you left, at approximately 6:23 p.m., you gave me a call.
I did.
And during that call, you advised that you located Trooper Proctor's phone number in your cell phone.
Correct.
And also located 2 text messages from Trooper Proctor.
No, one text message from him.
Okay.
One text message back to him.
Okay, so 2 text messages.
2 text messages total. Combined between me and him. One to, one from.
Okay. Yep. And that those were both from after the death of John O'Keefe.
Correct. Yep.
Okay. And I then indicated, obviously, that we'd be interested in having another brief interview with you.
Yep.
And we'd already arranged to meet with your husband here today.
Yep.
So we invited you back today.
Correct.
For a second.
Yep, if I was able. Yep.
Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And you explained at that time, and maybe just for the benefit of the tape, you explained how you came to find Trooper Proctor's phone number in your phone and
Correct.
sort of the circumstances surrounding that.
Yep.
Could you just explain that again?
Sure. I was looking up a photographer from Canton, and he sometimes photographs my son's sports teams and does senior pictures, whatnot. His first name is Mike. I was looking to send him a text message about something. When I hit Mike, there was Mike Proctor, Mike Tereski, who Mike Tereski is the photographer. Mm-hmm. And I said, oh, I do have his number. And that's when I immediately called you, because I had his number. But when I was in the interview, I typed in Michael, which that's what I will call Michael Proctor, Michael, not Mike. Mm-hmm. And that's why it didn't pop up on my phone.
Okay.
When I was sitting in here with you guys.
Okay.
Because I typed in Michael, not Mike. And when you type in Michael, it's Mich, it's not Mike. So even if you spelled out Michael, it wouldn't, the letters don't match up, so it wouldn't have popped up.
Okay.
And then I called you right away.
Perfect. Well, we appreciate that. And so what we'd like to do is we'd like to take some photographs or maybe document with the body camera, the contact and the text message.
Absolutely.
In terms of our ask yesterday to essentially look at your cell phone for any text messages with Michael Proctor, mm-hmm. Have you given any...
I have, but I haven't figured that out with my husband just yet. And I will be getting back to you tomorrow on that. But I don't see it being a problem.
Okay, because he did consent to that, and we ran several numbers that we had from Michael Proctor through his sort of text message search, and we came up with nothing. Yep. So obviously we didn't do it right, because he's saying that you found some last night or something. But
who did?
He did, apparently. But in any event,
so
that's the scope of our inquiry. Just to reiterate sort of the scope. So yep. He's familiar with it. It's just a matter of looking at the text messages for his, information.
Okay. I'm just trying to find this now because, ironically, when I type in Mike, it's not. I'm just trying to find out how I...
Did you have it into Mike Proctor?
Got it.
By is that how you have it in?
Mike, yep.
Proctor? Or just...
Michael.
Last name
Procor. And 7272493. 727. Is it possible that I can just write it? Because I'm forgetting what the number is, because it's coming up.
What do you want to write?
All right, now, It's not, this is like the same thing my husband just said. I'm not understanding.
Yeah, it's not coming up with the...
Mike. I'm not understanding what's going on right now. More results will be shown once messages are finished indexing. Could it be like a...
Maybe, actually. How many bars are you getting here? I've got 3.
2. 1. 2. I'm just very...
Okay.
Unless I do it this way. I'll get to it. Sorry about this. I'm trying.
Oh, that's quite right.
I'm trying. There it is. See? So when I type in...
Okay.
So you guys do your thing.
So do you mind if we... this? Okay.
No. So...
Okay. So this is text message thread, 2 text messages.
That's from, and that's my response back.
The first one, I'll read it just in case the body cameras don't pick it up. Hopefully they do. The first is an iMessage sent Thursday, June 22nd. Doesn't say the year. At 4:57 p.m. And it reads, "Hey, hope you guys are doing the best you can during this bullshit. I tried going through your attorney to set up a date and time to speak with Colin, but he hasn't returned my calls or my office calls. Can you guys speak with Colin and see what day and time works for him to come in and talk to us? Take care." And you respond on Thursday, June 22nd at 7:02 p.m. "Hi, Michael. Same to you and E. It all really sucks. I hope the kids are doing good." Okay. And
keep in mind, I don't know if it means anything, but the check mark.
Oh, yes.
I don't know.
Yep. And so you responded, he responded with a thumbs up to your message.
Well, he liked the message itself. He
liked the
didn't give
message.
a thumbs up, yes.
Okay. And just to make sure that we grab that. And then, do you mind if I click on his contact?
Absolutely. Go to it.
Okay. Info. Okay. Trooper Michael Proctor's contact is in your phone under Mike Proctor. And the phone number is... And that, do you know if that's his work phone or his...
I have no idea. I would have no idea about that.
Okay. And I'm wondering if I can click on this to find out, like, when this was. Is the year.
Does it say right there or just...
Just the time.
Oh! What? Can I move it? Sorry,
Yeah,
I don't mean to be screwing you guys up. 6/22. Right there.
6/22/2013.
No.
I'm sorry, 2023?
Yes.
Sorry. Okay. 6/22/2023. Okay. And I have to ask that, that does seem like a fairly casual statement, or text message from a state trooper, particularly, during
this situation.
During a situation.
Yep.
So it suggests that there was a, friendly relationship to some extent to me. I'm not sure that I would say that to somebody who I was totally unacquainted with. Is that...
Well...
To what do you attribute sort of the casual nature of that?
The casual nature? Yeah. I believe that a lot of people at that time are and continue to be going through hell. Mm-hmm. It's not about being friends with someone. It's not about being close with someone. It's not about it because he is an acquaintance to me. From all accounts, he seems like a great guy, but to call someone a friend to me and to call someone an acquaintance is two different, levels to me. And I just think that he was trying to do something that he had to do based on his job, based on what his job is. And he had to try to get in touch with my son because the lawyer didn't return the phone calls. I mean, sounds to me, it's just pretty cut and dry. Mm-hmm. And I would respond to him or, hope kids are doing well. Like, hope the kids are doing well. Like Okay. So I wouldn't take that. I wouldn't take that as someone I'd say to one of my BFFs, my best friends. Sure. I just take it as an acquaintance. Hope you guys are doing well also. I mean, given what has gone on the past 2 years, a lot of people are going through problems and their own problems in all different ways, and that's just the way.
Okay. And you don't remember how you came to get his number in your phone?
Oh, I would have, honest to God, no idea. No idea. No. Nope.
Okay. Do you have any further questions about that?
I'm just curious how you had his phone number. Mm-hmm. You have no idea it wouldn't have been from his sister.
I'm assuming if I got his phone number, it would have been from his sister way back when. I mean, that's what I'm. Right? Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming. I mean, I honestly, I truly and honestly don't have an answer for that.
Okay. One thing that came to mind overnight is, has anyone come to you, obviously your relationship with Michael Proctor and his family is obviously being discussed, in court, correct?
Yeah, so I hear. Yeah.
And so has anyone at any time during this come to you before we came to you, come to you to attempt to ask you any of these questions regarding
that I have discussed with you two?
Yes.
No.
Regarding your relationship with Michael Proctor and
No.
his family members?
Nope.
So to be clear, no members of federal, state, or local law enforcement have come to you to ask any of these questions?
Nope.
No members of a defense counsel's team, including any private investigators?
No.
No members of the Norfolk County State Police Detective Unit or any other members of the Massachusetts State Police?
Absolutely not. Nope.
No other members of law enforcement?
No. No.
Okay.
No. Nope.
Okay.
And
that includes attempts. So did anyone ever call you or come to your house and attempt to interview you in regard to this?
since this last court hearing where I want to make sure.
Not since the last court hearing, since at any time. At any time during the pendency of this case.
Regarding
O'Keefe case.
Okay, regarding Michael.
Regarding your relationship with Michael Proctor and his family members.
No.
Okay. Basically regarding, there are things that are being said in open court regarding your relationship with, or alleged relationship with Michael Proctor. And so no one.
So you're meaning like I'm walking out to as an example, I'm walking outside to my car and a private investigator walks up to me and starts asking, example, I'm saying, walks up to me and starts asking me questions. Like,
yes,
or you're
something
talking,
like that, or they call you on the phone.
They call me on the phone, no.
Kind of just like what I did the other day. I called on the phone, I introduced myself, stated my purpose that I was looking to, investigate a relationship with Michael Proctor.
No.
Nothing like that has ever happened.
No.
Nobody has.
Nope.
Has
no
come
one
to
has
you.
reached out to me other than you, and then I reached back out to you.
Oh.
Yep. Nope.
And the reason I ask is obviously if a relationship is being discussed or an alleged relationship is being discussed in open court, to me, I'm not sure that I would make statements in open court without at least endeavoring to speak to the people that I'm making these statements about. That's why I asked. If I was going to be talking about somebody's relationship or alleged relationship, as an investigator, I would certainly at least have tried to talk to them about that to sort of get their side of the story.
Meaning,
like what I'm doing right now.
Okay, but you're talking like, are you talking like the defense? Like I was just explaining. Why. I'm just explaining why. Excuse me. Why I was asking the question. Like obviously, there are people that are talking about your relationship. Yeah, alleged
relationship.
Yeah.
But those people that are talking about that have made no effort to talk to you about it.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
That's what 100%. That's what I was just getting at. That and the reason why I was asking is that obviously if you had spoken to somebody in the past, then that would be a prior statement of yours regarding this matter, which would be relevant to our inquiry into your relationship. So just wanted to see if you had made any statements to anybody else, private investigators, other members of law enforcement, etc., regarding this particular, issue regarding your relationship with Michael Proctor, because obviously, it would only make sense to me that if people are talking about it in open court, there would have been some effort to investigate this by talking to you somewhere along the way.
I wouldn't be as, some person walks up to me in my parking lot and tries to ask me questions.
No, and I'm not saying.
Just like when I got your phone call, like I said, I had to try to. I Googled, and I'm not going to lie, because right now it's crazy town, and anyone can call and say anything on the telephone, and you just have to be aware.
I get it, and so I'm not saying, and obviously it would be totally within your rights to say no, that I'm not interested in talking to you. But at least if there was an attempt to speak to you, I could maybe understand a little bit more why, statements are being made about your relationship with somebody.
I don't really know, but no one has, besides you, no one has tried to ask me questions.
Do you think that could have happened and you just told somebody no, that you're not that you're not going to speak to them? Has anybody ever approached you during this case, not a member of the media, someone acting in some sort of an official capacity and tried to interview you and you just said no, thank you?
Okay, I'm getting really confused here. When we say,
I'm not looking to confuse you.
When we say a member of the media or something, there was a time that I received a telephone call, but in my eyes, I wouldn't say this was a person of the media.
No, I'm not interested in the media. I'm not interested in the media.
Yeah,
not the media.
Okay, but it was no one that I spoke to. I mean...
So I don't want to confuse you.
Yeah, well, I'm very confused right now.
That's not my intention at all. Basically, if you had given any statement to anybody else in regard to your relationship with Michael Proctor, that would be something that would interest us because it would be a prior statement of you. Uh-huh. And so obviously if your statement to that person differed from what you're telling us, we could then compare the statements, or if it was consistent, it would corroborate what you're saying. So basically, I'm just trying to figure out whether there are any prior statements that you've made.
Honestly,
but it doesn't sound like there are.
No, I mean, I went in front of the grand jury a couple months after John passed away.
Yeah.
I think it was it was a couple months. I believe it was a couple months after he passed away.
But were you asked the relationship with...
no, not at that point. And to be honest with you, I was grieving the loss, of my friend. Like, sure. I don't even remember. It was a scary thing to sit up there.
I get it.
It was very, whatever.
And so, to the best of your knowledge, no one aside from us has attempted or actually interviewed you in regard to your relationship with Mike Proctor.
No. The only other interview I've had was an interview about the night that John died in my home with...
Yep.
And what we discussed yesterday.
Okay.
And Michael. Yep.
That's it.
Yeah. And I'm sorry if I got confused, but...
No, I think we've clarified the confusion.
Okay.
Very good. So you'll get back to us in regard to our request for the additional scrutiny of your phone.
Yep.
And if you can, that is one of the numbers that we plugged into your husband's phone. So maybe you can try to help him pull up that text message.
He's a rough one when it comes to electronics.
No. In his defense, that
did you do it too?
Well, I'm the one who did it, so
yep.
It didn't come up for me for whatever reason, but you did seem to have some problem. So I'm wondering if there is some sort of
there could have, because
issue
yesterday when I typed in, I'm telling you, when I typed in it was.
I don't know. It wasn't coming up, but we're interested in collecting,
what
he has well on that.
So when he gets home from his meeting tonight, I'll grab the phone and try to type in and see if I see anything, and tell him to just call you. You said you'd get back to him. He'd get back to you.
Yeah,
okay.
He can just give me a call, and then
so maybe
and
it is like
circle back around.
Yeah, I'm looking at one bar right now. I don't know. I don't know. I never thought that affected that, but I don't know.
I'm not sure either. Yeah. But regardless, that was it. I appreciate you coming back in, and hopefully we'd be able to use this space if you and your husband come back in for that issue. So, any further questions or issues?
No.
Captain Barrios?
No, sir.
No.
Nothing.
Okay, if that's the case, if there's nothing further, I will conclude the interview. The time now is 6:18 p.m. Tuesday, March 19th, 2024. Okay, the body cameras are activated, and this is all being audio and video recorded. Today is Wednesday, April 3rd, 2024. The time is 3:35 p.m. We are inside an interview room located within the Disabled Persons Protection Commission, located at 300 Granite Street in Braintree. I am Detective Captain Eric Benson with the Massachusetts State Police. I'm joined by
Captain George Barrios, State Police.
And we're conducting an audio and video recorded interview with, could you please state your name, ma'am?
Julie Albert.
And your address. And your phone number. Okay. Okay. And this is the third time that we've met like this, correct?
Yes.
Third interview
Yes.
For you. Just do a little bit of a rehash on how we came to get here. During your second interview, during our first interview, we asked you if you would consent to a limited examination or search of your cell phone for any text messages between yourself and Michael Proctor.
Yep.
You indicated that you wanted some time to think about that. Is that accurate?
Yes.
And then during the second interview, which was the following day, we asked you again if you had considered our request, but you still needed some more time to think about it. Is that accurate?
Yep.
And then following that interview, we played a little bit of phone tag.
Yeah, I got sick.
You got sick,
Yeah.
so there was some time passed.
Yeah.
You were ill. We eventually reconnected back at the end of last week.
Yep.
Maybe Thursday of last week. We agreed to. You indicated that you had considered our request and were prepared to consent to the limited search of your phone.
Yep.
But that you were still ill and indicated that it would have to be this
week. Yeah.
So we agreed to speak on Monday, and I called you Monday a couple times. Sorry to be a pest. And then you responded eventually by text, and we went back and forth trying to settle on a time.
Yep.
Ultimately, we decided on today, 3:30,
Yep.
approximately.
Yep. Approximately, because your schedule opened up.
Yes.
Yes.
So, anyways, that's how we got here. Is that sort of fair?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you are prepared to consent to an examination of yourself?
I am.
Okay. And so we have a consent to search form, which is standard here. You can read it, but I'll fill it out.
Okay.
What kind of cell phone is it? An iPhone?
iPhone. Yeah, I think it's. Do you need like the?
No.
Okay.
iPhone, and that's associated with. Okay. You can read this over, and then if you're satisfied, if you have any questions, please ask.
Okay.
Otherwise, we can just print your name here, and then sign your name, print your name again here, sign and date.
Okay.
And forget about the password, business, and then we can fill in the rest of it down there.
Okay. All right, you said that. Then sign right here.
Print, sign, and then date.
Good.
That's perfect. Thank you. And then consent was given on the 3rd day of April 2024 at approximately 3:41 p.m. Okay, and then and Captain Barriers and I will sign the bottom as witnesses.
I'm looking.
All right. So what we'll do is we'll just get my numbers. What I'm going to do, and you're actually going to be here.
Yeah.
Just.
Sorry if anything comes through. My kids are ruthless.
So I'm just going to start to plug in the numbers that I have, and to see if anything comes up. And have you found anything in the intervening time?
No. The only thing
is what?
To my knowledge, is what I called you back after our first interview.
Okay, and that was the one on the 2093 line, which is what I found here.
And you already photographed that.
And we already photographed this, but just for the just for the sake of this, we'll do. I've already done this, but I found that I need to get a lot closer with the body camera than I thought I did in order to have it come out clearly. The other one left a little bit to be desired, but such is life, I guess. So. And this is the one that we already documented last. We read that aloud last time in your second interview. So, and that was the only two text messages between this telephone and Trooper Proctor's number ending in 2093.
Are you asking me or just saying this?
Okay.
I didn't know if I was
sort of reading that into to the record. There are no text messages come up between this phone and Trooper Proctor's number ending in 0165. $304991. Nope. No text messages come up between this phone and Proctor's number ending in 4991. And no messages come up between this phone and Trooper Proctor's number ending in 5367. So the only messages on this phone were the two messages, one incoming and one outgoing, to Trooper Proctor's number ending in 2093. And I'm just going to search the full body of the text for just the last four of these numbers. See if it comes up that way. 65. Okay. Yeah, that's it. So the only messages, no messages between that phone and Trooper Proctor's numbers ending in 5367, 4991, 0165, and just the two messages with Trooper Proctor's number ending in 2093. In terms of, do you have anything from the last two interviews that have come to mind? Anything that you'd want to add? One thing, and perhaps we didn't ask the question clearly enough, in terms of when we asked you about how often you communicate with Courtney, obviously that changed over time. The frequency changed over time.
Women.
Correct. Like, you don't communicate with her today the same way that you communicated with her, at the same frequency that you communicated with her when she was a kid.
Oh, obviously. Yeah.
So maybe we didn't sort of get through, mine down and, enough in terms of the specific time frames.
Yeah.
But I think you indicated that it varies a lot.
Yeah, it does. It's life. Right. I mean, that's not, it's even, I can say that with my bestest of best friends. I can go a month, 2 months without talking to them and then be like, oh my gosh, my own uncle, I can do it. It's everyday life. It's what you have going on in your life. It's if the kids are busy, then in turn it makes you, and we're in different stages of our lives. Her kids are very young. Our kids are older, so there's no rhyme or reason. Sure. But compared to what you're asking, compared to when they were younger, when they were, there was no cell phones back then. Do you know what I mean? So it would just be solely if my sister was involved back then, before cell phones, before anything. So if that makes
it does, and but in terms of you babysat for her kids for
I helped her for
some period of time.
Yeah.
And is it fair to say that was 2 to 3 times a week or so?
Twice a week.
I
would say probably it would end up being twice a week, but I will say that her parents are very heavily involved with her children's lives. And there were a lot of times when I'm like, oh, do you need any help today? And she'd say, oh no, Papa showed up, or no, BB showing, her mother, they call it, is showing up to the house. So it was nothing you guys have to report to work. it was nothing
Yeah.
like, sometimes like if her parents, they're older, they would go away to Florida and she would say, oh yeah, could you grab Jack from school this day and grab Jack this day like that. But then another week, the parents could be coming home and it was a thing that the parents wanted to see the kids. So
Of course.
we don't need to. So yeah, in that.
But would you say that it was a situation where it was approximately 2 times a week?
Yeah, if I did it, it was no more than 2 times a week. The weeks I did it, no more than that.
Okay,
No more than that.
and that one went on for approximately a 9-year period.
Oh God, I don't remember how long it went on for. I mean, I'd really have to think about how long. So her oldest is, no, I don't believe it was that long.
Okay.
I don't think it was. I don't.
Well, how long would you say it is?
Maybe like 2 or 3. Like I don't think it would have been that long because her oldest is 10 or 11.
Yeah.
I didn't watch her oldest when she was an infant. It was more so her youngest son. And right now, only, I think he just turned 6.
So he just went to school a year ago?
Yeah, so he's in 1st grade now.
So 2 years ago.
2 years ago, yeah. Yeah.
But prior to that,
and then you got to take in consideration COVID because no one was going there I wasn't going near anybody, COVID time.
Mm-hmm.
So it was prior to that. I went back, I helped her out a little bit after COVID, but not like anything crazy.
okay.
So
it was not a regimented thing.
Well, no, I mean, there were some weeks I knew, like, if they needed me, it would have been on a Tuesday, Thursday factor. Cause maybe like one of those could have been Courtney's late day at work and her husband had to, by the time he got home, he couldn't be home. So it was like, but it was not a full-time gig. It was not 5 days a week gig.
No.
It was, if it was anything, it would be Tuesday and Thursday. I know that specifically.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
I
then
know that in my
in
head.
terms of the time span there was it a situation where you were babysitting the oldest and then there was maybe a small break and then you started babysitting the youngest and then maybe COVID hit?
I don't I know, say in the summer, if I helped her out, both the kids would be home.
Yeah.
And Jack at one point was little, he was maybe a year old at that point. So I would have both of them, but the majority of it revolved around if it was during the school year and they went to separate schools. So maybe the little one went to a private school, Catholic school in Canton. And then the older one was at the Kennedy. So maybe the grandfather would pick up the older one at the Kennedy. I'd have, and then, like that. But it wasn't occasionally it would overlap them together. But the majority of it was the younger one.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so if you were to ballpark the number of years that went on like that, it was
Couple, maybe.
a couple.
Yeah. It wasn't since it was I never watched as an infant. I never watched as a toddler. I mean, maybe when she was maybe 5, 6, if she came into the mix because of school, can you sit with both of them? Or can you, like that? But, it's a while ago. It's just hard to remember, and I'm not good with dates.
Okay. Okay. So but during that period of time, would you consider yourself to be her primary non-family babysitter?
Yeah. I don't think other than her parents and no one else that I know of watched them. But yeah, I watched. Yeah.
And it was regular enough that for at least that period of time, whatever that period of time is, which isn't totally clear.
Yeah.
There would have been relatively substantial communication, just with the different schedules that had to be sorted out,
with Courtney about her children.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Okay. So in that period of time, there was probably pretty heavy communication.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Because
and so
not heavy communication for that, just communication that she's a friend of mine. Like,
but I mean, the way that you just described it, like in terms of like, there could be a day where the parents are able to do it, but I don't know.
Oh, so you have to communicate.
Right. The very nature of that requires pretty extensive communication just to manage the different schedules.
Yeah,
and stuff
absolutely, 100%.
Okay, so during that period of time, that because you had indicated that it varies, how often you communicate with her.
Yeah.
You could go months at a time. Well,
but during that time, absolutely. You have to. There would be
no other way to do it.
Yeah. Okay. Or even like if I was watching them and they're at work, she's a very involved mom. How are the kids?
Right.
Like, did Jack go to the bathroom after school? How was pickup?
Of course.
Did they give you any?
Right.
Just the usual.
Okay. Because obviously the
parent
and perhaps that was our issue, like not minding down on that, but like certainly it wouldn't be weeks at a time that would go by during this period of time.
During that, no.
When you're the primary babysitter.
No.
And that went on for some number of years. The exact number is
yeah, but it's nothing like 10, nothing like, because with the oldest, I never watched her. It was more so the younger one, who's six now. I was 6 or 7, I believe now.
Okay,
Yeah.
and you watched him from infancy through the time that he went to kindergarten?
I would say around that, but infancy, no, she was home for a while. I would say more towards 1.5 maybe. He was, because I know she was home for a while. They had, between both their jobs, they were home a lot. And, they just wouldn't have left an infant. Some people just wait as long as they can to have anyone out of family help. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Yep. Okay. And so any other, am I not asking any other questions that you want me to ask in terms of to further clarify your relationship with
Courtney?
Yeah.
No, I mean, not that I know of. I obviously, and then when COVID hit and the world shut down, I'm not saying I didn't talk to her, but that's the time when time can go by and your family's all home under one roof and you're all, in the house, everyone went through it. And so obviously at that time, you don't have to talk or text with someone on a Monday night about Tuesday. Do you need any help? So that's how things would have changed. But then there was sometimes that you can be sitting on the couch and be texting back and forth. There's no rhyme or reason that I can, you know what I mean? It's just, I don't know, is what it is.
And do you recall, ever being on a text thread, with Trooper Proctor and Courtney, where she may have been talking about her son getting in trouble at school or something?
When he went to the Catholic school, he did get, I'm not going to say trouble, but, there were instances when you're in kindergarten, you know what I mean? Yeah. There were instances that went on or whatever.
Kindergarters don't get into real trouble.
Not trouble.
So in preschool, but something that was funny.
I don't, honestly, I remember, because sometimes I would pick him up and the teacher that would bring him out would say, oh God, there was a little incident today, like that. So I don't really remember if I was ever on. It's I remember specific stories when Jack was in kindergarten or Jack was in preschool at that school as well.
Sure.
So I don't remember. I honest to God, I don't remember that. I could have been. I could not have been. I don't remember. But I remember.
You have no memory of being on a text thread with both of them.
I'm just trying to think. I don't. I mean, I honestly.
No, it's fine that you don't.
No, I'm not. I'd say if I was, I just don't remember. I don't remember either way. I don't. No, I don't. I'm not. I can't make myself remember. I don't remember.
Okay.
But,
all right. Anything further?
No, sir. No questions.
Okay.
All right. There's nothing further. We'll conclude the interview. The time now is 3:59 p.m. Wednesday, April 3rd, 2024.